Hey everyone, welcome to the second lesson of the course. Now it's time to start modeling and creating all the objects that we're going to use for the final loop that we're going to animate on After Effects. And so, we are going to start by modeling a Christmas tree. And for that, we're going to use basic shapes and we're going to use the subdivision surface to create a very nice Christmas tree. So first I want to show you how the subdivision surface works. Maybe you already know this, but I want to teach you a little bit about this. The subdivision surface, what it does is to artificially create more subdivisions in one object so that it simulates like the curves that when an object has a lot of polygons, a lot of subdivisions, it starts being rounder, it starts being smoother. So this subdivision surface is simulating that many subdivisions on one single object. So for example, if I create a cube, let's go and create a cube. You can create a cube by clicking here, or just clicking here, or go into create object and go to cube. Now when you have this, you can see it's a simple cube, nothing else. You can stretch it on any axis, just a single cube, and you can see that the sides are completely straight. We have no curve at all. But if I take the subdivision surface, you can see the subdivision surface is a cube with some vectors outside. You can select this right here, or clicking here and going for subdivision surface, or going to create, going to generators and subdivision surface. And right now we don't see anything, of course, because this is only a generator, which means that this isn't an actual object but an item that modifies another object. So we have the subdivision surface, and if we throw the cube into the subdivision surface, now this cube is going to be a child of the subdivision surface, which means that the subdivision surface will act on the cube. Now you can see that the cube suddenly now it's some sort of a sphere. It's not a perfect sphere, but it's somewhat of a sphere, and that's because the subdivision surface created so many subdivisions that the shape of the cube has deformed. So this is pretty amazing, because with this you can create a lot of things, and you can start here to create a sphere, because the sphere object on Cinema 4D, you can do a lot of things with it, but this isn't so helpful sometimes. Sometimes it's just a sphere. But with this cube with subdivision surface, this becomes, think of it like a ball of clay, like a big piece of clay that you can model, you can sculpt, and you can deform until you give shape, you give a certain shape. So it's really cool. Now for example, if you take this cube, you can change the size. Let's say let's increase the y-axis, and you can see that it deforms as well. Now if you take the subdivision surface object and go to object, you can add more subdivisions. Right now it's on 2, but if we give it 3 or 4 or 5, you can see that it's much smoother. In 3, you can see that we have a lot of polygons. Right here is just like a low poly object, but the more subdivisions, the smoother the shape is. Of course, you don't need so many subdivisions. 6 is the maximum subdivisions here, and that depends on what you want. I think that for this sphere, for example, 4 is more than enough. Alright, now if you select the cube you can add more segments on any of these axes and it will change the shape. You can create a lot of things. You can create a cylinder, you can create something like this, or maybe just a rounded rectangle. So that's what you can do with Subdivision Surface. It's a really amazing tool on Cinema 4D. So let's begin with the Christmas tree, and we're going to use an object called pyramid. You can find it here, or just go to create object and click on pyramid. And now with this, let's create a subdivision surface and throw the pyramid into the subdivision surface. Now it will create this object. Now make sure that you select the pyramid, and on segments, on object segments, click on 2 and you will have this shape. Now you can see it's more like a clay made pyramid. So this is working for us. This is really cool for us. Alright, now all we have to do is to play around with the shape of the pyramid. For example, I would lower the x-axis like this, and you can play around with the segments. I think this is fine. Maybe lower like this. And on the subdivision surface you can add one more subdivision, and now you see that it's much smoother. Alright, and maybe you can add more size to the x-axis like this. Now with this, take your subdivision surface, create a copy with Ctrl and C and then Ctrl and B, and lower this like that. Now go to the coordinates of the pyramid and increase the size of the x-axis a little bit and make it look like this. And then create another copy, take it a little bit down, go to the pyramid object, increase the x-axis, and one final time Ctrl and C and Ctrl and B, this goes down and increase the size. Just like this. Alright, so we have now the shape of the tree. It's a very basic tree. It's not so detailed. Of course, on Cinema 4D you could create an amazing detailed tree, but in this case we're going for a very simple type of tree. Alright, now with this one should be higher like this. You can play around with the position of them. Alright, this looks pretty cool. Now let's create the trunk of the tree. Just create a cube and let's play around with the size of the cube. Can be something like this. Take it to this point, create another subdivision surface and throw the cube in here. Now take the cube and add one more segment on the Y, or two more segments on the Y, and should probably add two more on the X, maybe one for the Z axis, just like this. Alright, take this higher. And finally, we're going to create the ground where the snow for the tree. And for that, I'm going to create another cube. Let's make it around this size, around the size of the last part of the tree. And take your subdivision surface, place the cube in there, like this, and maybe add some more size in here until you have like a round certain kind of sphere, something like this. When we have the sphere where the tree is going to be, we're going to change the shape of this, but well, that will be on another lesson. Right now we're done with this tree. You can see it's really simple. Now it's time to create the ornaments for this tree. So let's go to the next lesson.